Hello, everybody. Welcome to our ISPMA webinar session today with Haragopal Mangipudi.
All right. So good talking to you again.
Well, welcome to the webinar. I think we can start. We can start now. Before I ask Haragopal to talk to us, I would like to give you a short introduction. Please remember, if you have any questions, use the chat function of Zoom to ask. Let me start by a few words about myself. My name is Hans-Bernd Kittlaus. I'm the chairman of ISPMA, the International Software Product Management Association, and I'm also the CEO of Innotivum Consulting, which is a consulting and training company focused on the subject of software product management. My background is in software. I worked for IBM for a long time, and with my own company, I've done a lot of consulting and training work with companies from Samsung to German Telecom and a lot of smaller companies all over the world. You see a couple of my book publications here on this chart. The latest one being book Software Product Management and Pricing. ISPMA is an association of experts in the field of software product management. Here on this chart you see a couple of our fellow members from all over the world. We have members both from the industry and from academia who work together to improve software product management as a discipline of its own on both sides, both in the industry and in academia. And we do that by developing a curriculum, a body of knowledge on the subject of software product management that can be used for training and certification of product managers. I will give you some more information on ISPMA's contents a little later, but now I would like to welcome Haragopal Mangipudi again. Hara, it's a great pleasure to have you in this webinar. Haragopal is the CEO and chief evangelist of a company called Finuno. I hope I have the right pronunciation, Hara.
Yes.
Before that, he was a senior vice president of Infosys, and he was responsible for the success of the Finacle product of Infosys. He is also a distinguished alumnus of the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. Hara, please tell us something about software product management in India and what it means as a career opportunity.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks, Hans-Bernd, for the opportunity for me to be in this session and interact with the product professionals and you. And I have been, associated with the software products for about 2.5 decades, and suffice to say, while I've had a long career in IT industry in India, but I had never worked in the usual IT services space at all, while I've been part of a large IT professional services and consulting company. And so my passion lies in the software products, and I've played various roles in the product business, right from being an architect myself and engineering, program management, and heading the professional services as well as running the business. So what I would bring to you in the next 15 minutes is more a ringside view, not so much of an academic perspective, but somebody, a practitioner, how I have seen this industry evolve over the period of time, particularly in India, while I've had exposure in all the 6 continents with customers in about 85 countries. So let me limit this to largely the Indian context and what has got it for the aspiring product managers as well as the existing product managers as we go forward. So if you really look at the software product context is not new to India. It's been around for some time, and most software professionals were exposed to the software product industry for some time. But having said that, essentially these were exposed to in different ways, either in the context of being a user and implementer of a software product, global software product, or maybe as a member of a division, of an engineering division, which has been located in India, or maybe some of the professionals in India have participated or been part of the True Blue product teams out of India. So though the third variety is fairly small in number. So let me give in perspective, the numbers according to NASSCOM, which is the IT body, as well as various other industry estimates say that about close to 98% of the 100 billion plus Indian IT pie is in the services, and the 2+% is rapidly growing. Over the period of last decade itself, the number of tech startups or the product companies have shot up from 100 to anywhere 2,000 plus in India. And all this is an exciting news. In fact, to corroborate with that, various industry studies, either by Google and Axel partners, what they studied, Indian SaaS is growing at a rapid pace and growing to about 50 billion in the next 10 years. And a major chunk of it is going to be the SaaS revenue, which is an exciting thing. And if you really look at the product managers' careers itself, so this role, when I remember, in the 90s, when I was looking at hiring people, hardly there were any profiles available in the market, to hire for a product manager role. So we had to repurpose internal talent into that and then, bring in the discipline. But today the good news is there are over 30,000, to be precise, about 36,000 product managers as we see in India. And, there's a huge opportunity for this number to grow close to 70,000 or 68,000 number. So what do all these numbers mean in terms of the career opportunity for somebody who is either a product manager already or is aspiring to be a product manager, and how do we become a product manager if we are not already one, and what are the entry points and what are the career options beyond the product manager is what we're going to discuss. Before that, let me put in perspective a few key terms or the lingua franca so that we all are on the same page. When I say a software product, we all understand that it's an ensemble of a computer software program designed, built, and developed for a diverse set of institutions and users. And such products are commercially distributed as licensed or subscribed software. So we could have nomenclature in any way in some of the organizations, but this is what a commercially off-the-shelf software. It need not be always shrink wrapped, but that's what the definition of the software product. And an SPM, while this again there could be various variants or local deployments in different contexts, but I would define an SPM as a business leader who is accountable. When I say accountable in the classic RACI framework, who owns the accountable for outcomes of the business outcomes of a designated software product or a suite in an organization. So he's the business owner and the business leader for that. And in that context, it is important to at least mention a couple of more functions so that we get a clear flavor of the software product manager role itself. The second one, which is the closest to that, is the software product owner, who in a way is responsible in the RACI matrix for the development of a software product and for the entire life cycle from the design, development, and maintenance of the software product, and works closely with the software product manager, SPM. So the distinction is very clear. The product owner is responsible for the product, while the product manager is accountable, and they are the typical two in a box working closely to bring out the outcomes. And another clear and important function is the software sales and marketing function. These are independent functions, but responsible for achieving the specific sales and marketing goals in terms of the sales numbers in a particular geography or marketing outcomes. So having set the baseline of what we're talking about SPM, an SPM role per se requires a variety of skill sets and capabilities. While I do not intend to list out the entire job description or the skill sets, but I would like to highlight a few of them so that we are all clear about what we're talking. It's, as I said, a business leadership role. So in keeping with that role, the key soft skills are the leadership and ethical influence, ability to bring in influence both inside as well as outside the organization, and strategic vision and planning, the ability to envision and see an opportunity and actually take it through the journey of monetizing that. Third, I would look at is customer and consumer centricity, essentially looking at every business opportunity, primarily what problem are we solving for a user or a consumer, and who is going to pay for it. And that's very important in my mind for a product manager. And if I were to really look at a behavioral aspect, is an eagle-like ability to deal with the larger picture as well as the detail, the macro and micro simultaneously. So, the feet on the ground and head in the cloud kind of a thing, but it is important as a leader, here being able to bring the direction as well as execution capability. And the next one on my list would be an uncanny sense of numbers. It's not so much being able to number crunch, but essentially appreciate and sense the numbers and be able to think in numbers, both financial and otherwise. And finally, the strong gut, so to say, which can really bring in the leap of faith. Because whenever this role as any leadership role is normally the pay to decide role, so ability to take the decisions with available information and also influence the leap of faith with the investors, with the board, and with other leadership roles is important. And when I get into the domain and technical skills, it is important that the product manager is aware of the business domain in which the client operates in, including the regulatory nuances. And when we say the understanding of the business domain or the client domain, it's not so much about know-how, which again is more a product development responsibility in terms of the specific metrics and various other things. But the know why and the know what is important. Why should these products exist and what does this product do or should do is important, so that this role or the product manager is able to connect the dots with the universe around. So a critical appreciation of contemporary technologies to choose from, because there is no one singular path to arrive at the destination. So what are the various alternate technologies which you could deploy to build a product, particularly in the software context, in a comprehension of a big picture of the playing field, in the sense who are all the competition, who are all the suppliers, could be what are the current industry patterns, etc., and the ability to connect the dots and be able to identify the white spaces and be able to arrive at a business opportunity is an important skill. A real-time knowledge and engagement of various industry players, as I said, and a deeper understanding of the process of the rigor and process of planning, budgeting, and forecasting, as far as the financials are concerned, because this is a business leadership role, and this product manager is responsible for the business outcomes. And so I would like to conclude with the last 2 points in terms of what are the potential feeder profiles, if you will, within the software and associated domains where product managers can come from. This is again, like in the previous one, it's not an exhaustive list, but a probable spaces where you have a higher concentration of product managers coming from. First and foremost is from the user or client community itself, business leaders who have seen like for example, if I'm developing a product for financial services, somebody who's worked in the financial services domain and who understands the nuances of how it works could be a good, interesting profile, provided, this person is able to understand and be able to lead a technology domain or a company business. Second, the product owners themselves who have had deep experience in building the products and servicing the products, but having a distinct appetite and exposure to the business side of it as well. Maybe somebody who's already gone to a B school would be pretty useful, because that's where some of these key skills of financial modeling and the business forecasts and those aspects also can be learned. Third potential area is from the sales domain. Sales leaders who thought, who looked beyond their immediate numbers and how to meet them, and who actually care to look under the hood of their product business and be able to take a business leadership role. That is another potential area. The fourth one is the finance professionals, but actually be able to grow beyond the financial domain and be able to connect with the people in the business and bring in the broader understanding of the relevant domain and technology beyond the finance. Last but most important is the horizontal movers, which is where I would like to focus on in today's conversation is in the context of the ISPMA, which is an industry body, which is a community, if you will, which is here to enhance and deepen and widen the capabilities of the product managers, which can help to foster and to bring in those capabilities. So here we have in India more than 3 million software professionals, and a good number of them who have tremendous appetite for learning and a deep desire to invest into themselves, to move horizontally into a role, provided they go through the kind of trainings which are required to get the science side of the product management. They could be a good, huge pool, and that's where I would look at a good opportunity for the next few years to get product managers from, because rest all pools are limited supply, but whereas this pool can be large, and with the right participation of various industry players and facilitating bodies, you have High Spirit, which is a NASCOM. They have all been fostering the product culture and careers, and there are a few bodies who are training, including ISPMA has put down a very rigorous and very detailed certification and curriculum, which Hans-Bernd is going to talk about later. So I think this is where we have a huge opportunity for people to really do horizontal move by acquiring these capabilities, if you will. So let me conclude with one last point of what are the potential opportunities? Where do I go next if I become a product manager? Usually one can grow linearly into a larger product management roles, from a 10 million product to 100 million or a unicorn product kind of roles, or grow into the CEO or board positions within the product company, or could also look at shifting laterally into the funders community as VCs, because they need experience to assess and evaluate various product investment opportunities. These are broadly the opportunities where the product managers can look beyond the product management as a career. So let me pause here and see if there are any questions, and over to you, Hans-Bernd.
Thank you very much, Hara. Please use the chat function if you have a question. We will go back to question and answers in a minute. Before we do that, let me give you a short overview of what ISPMA can provide. ISPMA has developed a software product management framework that you see here. There are 7 columns in this framework. The core software product management tasks are in the columns product strategy and product planning. On the right side of the framework, you see the functional areas of a software organization that need to be orchestrated by the product manager so that they all contribute to the product success in the best possible way. And on the left side, you see the strategic management column. These are activities on a company or business unit level that product managers often participate in. This framework is the basis of ISPMA's curriculum. So all the trainings that we develop use this framework as a structure. So the framework is the basis for all our work. You can find the syllabi for our trainings for free on the ISPMA website. This is what the curriculum looks like. So the foundation level, that's a 3-day training that provides the basics. This is intended for beginners and product managers with up to 5 years of experience. This foundation level training covers all the aspects that you see in the framework. On top of that, we have the so-called excellence level trainings that go into specific areas like product strategy or product planning, and provide more contents and also provide more case studies and opportunities to apply all the contents of the trainings. For all these modules, there are certification exams, and you can become an ISPMA certified product manager. We are going to do the first ISPMA-based training in India on January 20th through 22nd. If you are interested in this, you can find more information on the Innotivum website, and there are still a couple of seats available, so please let us know if you are interested in this. Now, I would like to go to the questions and answers. I can see one question here from Devang. He says, Hara, can you share some insight into differences in the role of product manager in India versus the rest of the world?
Devang, thanks. That's a very interesting question. And I think in Indian context, the software product manager role is evolving still. While both in Europe as well as North America, I find the role nomenclature as well as the expectations and job descriptions and the metrics and in terms of the outcomes are fairly well defined. So why is that? First of all, in Indian context, depending on what kind of an organization are you looking at, if it is a internally repurposed role, the metrics are a little bit intertwined between what are the outcomes of that. Like, for example, if I'm a software product owner, I also play the role of product manager. So I'm not held so accountable for the business numbers as much as for the outcomes of the product. So in a way, I would reckon it is more an evolutionary thing, because historically, if you really look at huge amount of excellent deep technical skills have been built in India, primarily as product engineering divisions of the large product companies worldwide. So the rigor and accent is a lot more in terms of the product ownership, and the business side of it is fairly, emerging in the last maybe 5 to 6 years. And also in the startup context, if you see, a majority of the startups, the founding team themselves had a vision of the product, and there is a bit of an overlap between what the founding team plays versus a professional product manager who are stepping. And if you really look at my own context, I worked, while in various roles, but my passion has been the product management, both in a large corporate world, having end consumers, more than 800 million users for the product. But when I played the role in a smaller company, I think it would take a while before I could get a professional product manager into the play. But having said that, can a founder, the CEO, can play a product manager role? I don't think it is right, because you need the coldness and objectivity of taking those decisions as far as the product outcomes are concerned. So from that point of view, at certain stage, as the companies, even the startups, they get certain size, then they go for professional product managers on board. So that's the larger context as I see, to answer.
Thank you very much, Hara. I have an additional question. You talked about startups, but there are also the established, very often rather large organizations in India that have been outsourcing partners of companies in Europe and the US. And you worked for Infosys for a long time, which belongs into that category. Can you say something about the challenges of establishing a product business in such an environment?
So I mean, that's a great question, Hans-Bernd, again. In terms of an organizational framework, right, from where you put your investments, how do you measure the performance of a business unit, what kind of an investments are required. From all these aspects, a software product business is very different from a professional services business. So while some part of the technical talent could be similar, but in terms of the business, there's nothing similar about it, in my view, because the kind of investments which are required and the investment horizons, and in terms of the skill sets, like for example, what you require for a professional services consultant versus a product architect, and also in terms of the client-facing community, the ability to take a stand on a particular feature or a particular roadmap versus actually fulfilling a customer's request or a customer's requirement in a professional services. From all these aspects, it is very different. So it requires tremendous amount of vision and maturity at a board level, which I was very fortunate. I had that kind of a mentoring and guidance and direction and investment and all from at Infosys. But most software services companies may not have that luxury. And so from that point of view, the divergence starts from if you are a listed company or even otherwise, the investors' expectations of outcomes, on a quarterly or an annual cycle versus a product kind of thing, which is a long gestation game. Then the HR aspects, if you look at what kind of an architect I would like to hire for a consulting, ability to take a product view for 7 years, 8 years, etc. So those skill sets and the compensation structure and career progression, these are very different. So unless there is that maturity at a leadership level, and second, the job of a product manager, if I'm playing inside a professional services company, would get so much more, I wouldn't call challenging, but more interesting, because one has to translate this into a professional services context. So if I'm a product manager in a product company, so my communication or my predicaments and my priorities are very well understood. So if I'm a product manager in a services company, so there needs to be a lot more investment in terms of how do I translate, including the business metrics and everything, to a larger organization. So that requires deeper understanding of both the industries and ability to what I call the leadership and influence, ability to bring in an influence. Like, for example, if I want the best architect in the company to work with a product, and if that architect is highly billable in the customer market, so you should be able to articulate why it is important to invest that kind of a capability into the product than build him or her into that. So it all depends on the structure of the company, the maturity of the leadership, and then the kind of people who you designate to lead these product businesses, how well they are, isolated, if you will, within the business as a separate business unit or a subsidiary or a function, so that they have their own charter, their own budgets, and there were, at least I do not recount in the recent past, but in the past I used to guide many smaller software companies, how they were looking at, so the simplistic thing is that, I have certain skill sets, I have on the bench, can I develop a product? Or I did some common projects in these kind of things, can I productize this? So typically that is how many smaller services would think, but I think it requires a very deeper agenda to drive a product business inside a software services company than just put your surplus or put your common learning or collective learning of the organization into a product. I hope I answered the question.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Hara. I would like to go back to the startup companies. You said earlier that it's a question, when is the right point in time to have a dedicated product manager in a startup company. But even before you establish that role in a startup company, the work, the business-oriented work has to be done. And typically, before you have the product manager, it's done by the founder, by the executive management team. So what's your view on that part of the role of the executive management team of a startup?
So I'm glad you said this, the need doesn't go away. It's like any other function. How do you manage if you do not have a CFO? So it's as serious as that. You need to have that. So it all depends on whether you can wait to hire a software product manager later, or you got to hire right up front, depending on the capabilities the founding team brings to the table. So within the executive management team and the founding team, if you have somebody who played that role before, who knows how to take all the dimensions of, in terms of envisioning a product, look at the various dimensions, the science and the art of it, essentially looking at the opportunity sizing, then, including the market, identifying the market and pricing, and working backwards on the product architecture, getting the right people. If somebody you have the capability, it's fine. The need doesn't go away. Either somebody within the team has had the experience, so you could, hold for a while. Otherwise, you need to hire. What I was saying is, even if somebody in the executive management team has that, that ability, but still it requires, to my mind, to have somebody professionally manage these, because some of the decisions are going to be very difficult. Those are not going to be easy, whether it's a large corporate or a small one. So when you have a professional leader who is assigned for that, it becomes a lot more objective than for a founding or executive management team taking that role.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hara. We do not have any additional questions. So I thank you for your presentation and also for your answers to the questions. That was very helpful. Let me say a few words about Innotivum before we close the session. Innotivum has sponsored this webinar. We provide not only ISPMA-based trainings, but we also provide consulting on software product management in terms of concepts, processes, organization, and change management. My partner in Innotivum is Devang Taka, who is based in California, but currently in India. So if you need any help in the area of software product management, please contact us. Here are our email addresses. You can also get more information on ISPMA on the ISPMA website, ispma.org, or more information on Innotivum and our offerings on the Innotivum website, innotivum.com. Here you can also find recordings of previous ISPMA webinars on different subjects important for software product management. With that, I would like to thank all of you for attending this webinar. Special thanks to Hara for doing this together with me. And we would be happy to see you when we are in India. I will travel to India next week, so there are opportunities to meet in the Bangalore area. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend.
Thanks very much. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.